Hi guys, and welcome to the review of Calibur VI. And yes, it's not as epic as the guy on the disc. I know that. I don't have his voice. But we're going to talk today about Calibur VI. Is it worth coming back to the series for the flashy moves, for the over-the-top voice acting, for the crazy convoluted I'm gonna destroy the Calibur, the Soul Edge sword because pick your poison. Is it worth it? And we're gonna discuss that. So let's get started. This game, for those of you who don't know, like I said, you're gonna play as in the single player anyway. You're gonna play as the main character. His name is yeah, that guy. His name is Killick. He carries a bow staff. And in his mind, Soul Calibur, or Soul Edge, is evil. And it needs to be destroyed. So you follow him in the main campaign to seek out and destroy both the wielder of the sword and the sword itself. Because it devours souls and it needs to be destroyed because it's evil and it's causing destruction, blah, 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 blah. Okay? So you follow him through the main story arc of the single player campaign. On the way, you will meet several of the main characters, both legacy characters that don't make an actual playable appearance in the game, as well as the playable characters themselves. Throughout his adventure, you'll meet them, but they leave it open for some reason. I'll get to that in a minute. As to these other characters' motivations for finding the sword and stopping you from getting to the sword before they do, and different things like that. Some of them are kind of wrapped up in a way, but they leave little gaps, and I was wondering why that was until I started playing the main story, and after I finished the main story, I found out why. The main story is, once you finish the main story, and let me tell you, it's told usually by cutscene, very few of them, or these little animated dialogue story scenes that are, fully dialogue, but they're kind of semi-animated, and it looks kind of strange, but it's an art style choice, and I have to admit it looks like a comic. Let me just put it this way: it looks like a comic book, but not. And they're slightly animated, so the facial expressions will change from time to time. But it's just different, and it's a neat art choice. It's different, but I wish there was a little bit more cutscene and a little bit more stuff like that. Because after a few fight sequences, you want to give your hands a rest, and you may not want to read all this kind of stuff. But that's neither here nor there. That's one thing, I guess you could say, against the game. But after you finish the main story, in the single player mode, there's a timeline. And each one of the main characters, by the way, there are 21 in all, counting the guest character, which I'll get to in a second, on this timeline. And the timeline takes place over, I think, it's a long time. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I don't know how many years. It's a ridiculous amount of years, okay? But each one of these main characters on the roster have their own little mini campaign after the main story, and it fleshes out the game a little bit more for you. It fleshes out the motivations behind the characters, why they're doing what they're doing, why they're searching for the sword, why they want the sword, why they want to destroy the sword, whatever the case may be. It's all in there, and each one of the characters is represented and given their own little campaign where they flesh out the character, they flesh out their story a little bit, and they give you little they help you understand the lore, they help you understand the characters better, and I appreciate that. So basically, let me give you an idea. For the main story, it took me a grand total of 4 or 5 hours to finish the main story. But then when the timeline opened up and I could begin to look at the different characters that had their own little mini campaigns, I'm still not done. And I've played it for a week, give or take. off and on with my son and just off by myself. I played it for a week and I'm still not done. Just like with every Soul Calibur, they give you guest characters. And for example, the last one I played, Soul Calibur 3, had Darth Vader, had Yoda, and had Starkiller, Darth Vader's apprentice from the Force Unleashed games, in the game as guest characters. And in this game, it is no different. They have given you a guest character, and this guest character is Geralt from The Witcher 3. And I have to say, yes, he has his own timeline inside the Soul Calibur universe. He has his own little segment, mini campaign. I haven't gotten there yet, so I'm kind of excited to see what it entails. But he has his own little reasons for being there, and so I'm looking forward to that. And he is faithfully represented. I played with him for a couple of minutes, just to see what he was animated like. He's faithfully represented from the game that he comes from, and I think they did him justice quite a bit, actually. But let's talk about what's in the game. I've heard a lot of people say that there is not enough content for this game. There's not enough this, there's not enough that, and I don't like it. Well, I got news for you. You got the main story. You got 21 main character mini campaigns that take anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes apiece. Okay, sometimes longer, depending on the character. And so you've got all that. So you've got 21 characters there, plus the main story. So you got several hours right there. If you get bored with that, you have an arcade ladder. Traditional arcade ladder where you pick a character and you go through 8 or 10 or 12, however many battles it is, and you play that with your character. If you get bored with that, you can create a character, okay? And then go through the arcades ladder with your own created character. You can create their gender, their race, their species, whatever. And I'm not talking about just male, female humans. We're talking aliens, we're talking skeletons, statues, demons, vampire. I mean, it's crazy. You can create Kratos from God of War if you want. I mean, it's just insane, that kind of stuff you can do. And you pick their fighting style, and then you can go through the main campaign, or not the main campaign, I'm sorry, but you can go through the arcade ladders with your created character. You can play online with your created character. You can play, obviously, on the couch against an opponent with a created character. But if that's not enough for you, after you get bored with the arcades and the 20-something forever mini campaigns, if that's not enough for you, if you still want more, you can go to Libra of Souls, which allows you to create a character from scratch, and then go and insert yourself into the search for Soul Edge, okay? And it's an RPG type leveling system where each time you level up will give you access to different gear, different weapons, different things like that, and you have an ongoing story as to why your character's involved in the search for Soul Edge. And it is insane. It is insane the amount of content that is allowed in this game. And if you're still bored and you want more options for creating a character, there is an option for DLC creation packs where you can buy more options for your created character and all this stuff. It's just crazy. It's just insane. The amount of stuff that's just single player. We're not counting the online multiplayer where you can jump into ranked matches, you can jump into versus matches, you can jump into and fight against people online all over the world. And I don't know. I don't know why people complain about the lack of content in this game. I mean, it has more content in it, I think, than Soul Calibur 3 did. 15 years ago? Something like that? It's crazy. And that's just the base game. there's a season pass. Again, I have issues with season passes in general. Okay, I don't like piecemealing things and putting things behind paywalls and stuff like that. But there is a season pass where there are downloadable characters available. The DLC, the custom creator pack, is available in the season pass. I think it's $30 for the season pass, if you buy it just straight up. But the one prop that I will give them about the season pass is, if you don't want to buy everything, you don't have to buy everything. You can buy whichever character you want to buy piecemeal. I think it costs you $6 per character that they have released, and I think it costs you a few dollars for the creation packs that they have released. So if you don't want to buy all of them, you don't have to buy all of them. You can spend $5 or $6 or whatever and get a character that you want or a pack that you want, and then if you don't ever want to touch it again, you don't have to. So as much as I hate season passes and DLC and paywalls and all this kind of garbage, at least there's that. So there's that option. I have to say, though, my favorite mode has to be the one where you create your own character and you go through Libra of Souls. That's my favorite mode, because you're invested, because you're going to be leveling up a character, you're going to be buying new gear, you're going to be buying new weapons, you're going to be going through your own version of the story, and I think that is completely, totally awesome. It's been around for a while, but if it's not broke, don't fix it. You know what I'm saying? It's one of the main reasons I buy this game, was to create my own character and to play as my own character and to do certain things. Let's talk about fighters and the control scheme for a second, because every fighting game, no matter how awesome the content is, no matter how many characters you have, no matter how many whatever you have, if the fighting mechanics are not good and the character selections and the character roster is not good, then what's the point, right? So let's see. Like I said, you have 21, and this is just a base game. You have 21 characters on the base roster, including Geralt, the guest character for the game. You have people like Maxi here on the screen. He was my favorite legacy character. He and Li Long were my favorite legacy characters of the original games. He's the reason I call myself Virtual Nunchucks, is because when I was a kid, or when I was younger, this was the guy that I played as my main. And my brothers hated me to no end when I was Maxi or Li Long. He's the king of mix-ups. You have guys that are just damage machines. They're slow, they're lumbering, like Astaroth or Nightmare or Siegfried. He's a damage machine. He keeps people away with that big old broadsword of his, kind of like that guy right there. And you know, he deals out a tremendous amount of damage, but he's slow and lumbering, so if you're quick and you're agile, you can get in close and create some problems for him. They have characters that like to play keep away with bow staffs or long swords, or Ivy's whip swords back. So yeah, there's those characters. So you know, a lot of the legacy characters make a return. For example, Maxi, Astaroth has been in a couple of games now. Zazamel, or whatever his name is, he makes a return. Talim, Sungmina, Taki, Raphael, the fencing guy from years ago, he's in there. There's just, you know, there's a lot of nods towards old fans of the series, you know, fans that have stuck around for a long time. But there's some neat new characters as well. For example, Grow, the gentleman up here on the screen here. He's new. He has his own complete story, you know, as to his motivations for finding the sword, and he has a completely, totally awesome moveset. I still haven't learned it yet, but I want to, because I used his base to create Ares on my character creator. You know, it's just, he intrigues me, his moveset does, so I might have to take some time to learn his. And that's another thing too, when you create a character, you can share it with the rest of PlayStation or whatever console you buy this on. You can share it. Okay? You can take your template and you can put it on the network, and people from all over the world can look for your character and put it out on the internet, and they can download it as a template and then make whatever changes they want to or whatever, or just use it. And that is completely awesome. So if y'all want to, you're welcome to look it up. Ares, spelled A-R-E-S. I have one of those, Ares, and then I think I have Virtual Mom. I think I put Melissa. But Melissa, Virtual Mom. I made a model of my wife with Ivy's, I think it was Ivy's sword. Modeled her after Taki. And she can, she's on the network as well. So check it out. Search it up, take a look at it, see what you think. But I mean, this game brings back a lot of memories for me. Sitting on the couch beating up my brothers, and my brothers beating me up, and learning the game together, having a lot of fun, laughing about the different things that we could do. The control scheme is very, very tight. If you play on a pad or if you play on a stick, you probably won't have any problems. I play on a stick because of my hands and the pain that it causes me to play on a pad anymore. My cerebral palsy prevents me from having fine motor movements quite as well as other people, so I play on a Kwamba drone. And I have to say that this game is a little more kind to people who play on a stick than, say, Mortal Kombat or Injustice, because there's a lot of quarter turns and half turns and stuff like that you can do with the stick. And something else that I really appreciate is the fact that you can completely customize your button layout to have one button presses for multiple buttons. That helps people like me a lot. So there's that. And then also in this particular game, unlike NetherRealm Studios, there is a dedicated guard button to this game. So if you want to assign a guard button, you can. There's a dedicated guard button. Instead of having to press back or down or whatever to block things, you can just press a button and block, which works out again for people like me a whole lot easier than, say, pushing back and trying to time your blocks just right, like on Injustice or Mortal Kombat. The only catch is that your brake in this game, your gear in this game, your weapons in this game, they're breakable. Okay, so after a certain amount of time, if you get hit enough times or if you block enough times, your block's going to break and your gear's going to break. And so you have to be prepared for that. The one thing that I love about this game is there is an 8-way run system. So there's a lot of sidestepping, there's a lot of rolling out of the way, there's a lot of different ways you can move to prevent yourself from being hit, so you don't have to use that guard button quite as often. So do I think this game is worth a buy? Well, maybe not at $60, but if you did pay $60 for it, I think it's a fair price. I've heard people say, it shouldn't be $60 worth of content. There's not enough here. I don't know. I disagree. Okay? I disagree. You want to know what game doesn't deserve $60? Black Ops 4. That's not a $60 game. It's definitely not a $60 game plus another $50 for the season pass. Okay? That is not a $60 game. This, if I paid $60 for this, which I didn't, but if I paid $60 for this, I'd have been happy because there is so much content just in the base game. Do I think it's a $30 season pass worthy thing? At the moment, no. But do I think I can come in here and pay $6 per character for the characters that I want, or the creation pack that I want, and it'd be worth my time? Yeah. I can stand paying $5 and $6 a character for characters that I want. I can stand to pay $6 for a creation pack if I decide I'm not happy with the umpteen million options I have on the base game. I can see that, but is it worth much more than that? Probably not. I bought this game on Amazon for $30 and some change. If you are new to the series, or if you are a returning veteran like myself to the series, I do recommend that you take the time to pick it up. This is a soft reboot of the series, so you don't have to know everything that's been going on with the story. You don't have to know all the story about the characters and the lore and all that stuff, because it tells you. And the cool thing about this game is also that the controls, the movement, and the learning of the controls, I don't think is quite as steep as other games of this type. It is very in-depth, don't get me wrong. There are lethal attacks, there are critical edge attacks, there are vertical attacks and horizontals and all this kind of stuff that you have to learn, but it's not as steep because it's a simple 3-button or 4-button combination with some turns and some, some directional inputs put in there. So I don't think it's quite as steep. I think it's good for you if you're new to fighting games and it's something that you want to pick up and just have some fun with. I think it's worth your time. If you're a veteran of fighting games like myself, I'm old as the hills, man. That's why I tell you guys I'm the immortal gaming legend, because I am as old as the hills when it comes to this kind of stuff. I've been playing it for a long time. So for returning veterans, there's enough depth in there that I think you'll be happy there too. And also they said if it sells well, that they'll continue the series. This was an attempt to see if love for Soul Calibur is still out there, and if it's worth coming back to. So if it sells well, they'll continue to make more, and I think they should, because these games are a ton of fun. As a matter of fact, Ryan can tell you one way or the other. Is it fun? Use your voice. They can't see you. Oh, he's munching on food, but he's shaking his head emphatically that yes, it's fun. Is it easy to play? He's shaking his head emphatically that it's easy to play. Do you think first-time fighter people should pick this game up? He's shaking his head emphatically that yes, they should. So, hey, that's just my thoughts. Usually I rate games on buy it, don't buy it, stay away from it, and So in this case, I think it's a buy it. Do I think you should have paid $60? Maybe not. But if you did, is it worth it? Yes. If you're into fighting games at all, a passing fancy, if it's something that you want to try in general, should you buy it? I think you should. But don't spend the full $60. Don't go and get the digital deluxe edition for like $80. Just get you your base game on Amazon for $30. Buy a couple of characters that you think you might want to try out, and if you like them all, go back and buy them all. I don't really care, but at this point, I don't think that paying $60 for it is something you should do, or even the $80 or $90 for the digital deluxe edition or whatever it is. But I do think it's worth it. I do think that it's something that you guys should check out, especially if you want a ridiculous amount of content, because there is a ridiculous amount of content. It's well worth the money that you pay to play this game. I know it seems like that every review that I give has positives and never complains about the game. No, there's some complaints. The dialogue is ham-fisted. The voice acting sometimes is completely over the top and crazy, and it cringy, downright cringy. And sometimes there's a lot of reading where there should be dialogue. Since they have so many recorded lines anyway, there should have been a lot of dialogue that is not there. So there's a lot of reading involved, Do I think that's a good idea? No. Do I think they should have had more dialogue recorded? Yes. I wish they had. Do I think they need to have a season pass and lock legacy characters behind a season pass like Tira, which is a bladed hula hoop lady that's been in the game forever, and Cassandra behind a paywall? No, I don't think they should have done that. I think they should have just created new characters, completely new characters, put the legacy characters on the roster, and let us get the new characters from the season pass or purchase them separately. That's what I think they should have done. Is it the greatest fighting game ever? No. This is a little bit more offensive in the way you play. So it's not, if you're a defensive player, it's not exactly your cup of tea, I guess. But it is a lot of fun. Is it fun? And that's what I base my games on. When I do a game review and when I try to pick apart a game, is it fun? Is it something that I'll continue to go back on and go back to and play more than like for a week or 2 weeks? Will I come back to it 6 months from now? Yes. Why? Because it's a ton of fun. It may be ham-fisted and crazy and flashy, but it is a ton of fun. It is a ton of fun to sit and play with your family. It is a ton of fun to sit and play just the story itself, just because of all the crazy stuff that happens. It's a ton of fun to create your own character and to go on an adventure with a character and have a fleshed out story for your character. It's a ton of fun to see what kind of crazy creations you can make in the character creator. So yeah, it is completely worth it to me to play this game. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have enjoyed the review. If you did, please leave me a like. You can follow me on Facebook.com/virtualnunchucks. You can follow me Twitch.tv/virtualnunchucks, where every Monday we at least do something. Stream, talk about video games, and play some. And then, of course, you can also follow me on Twitter. @VNunchucks is my handle. Hit me up there because you never know what's going to happen on this channel. Subscribe if you're new because, hey, I always do either reviews, I do gameplays, I do news updates, I do a little bit of everything. So please, oh please, oh please, subscribe if you're new. And I hope you guys have a great day. We will see you again tomorrow with something new and exciting, because that's what we try to do. New, exciting, and fun. Anyway, guys, have a great day, and we will see you again real soon.